You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark from 5cardguys.com. You can also find me on 5cardguys on Instagram and YouTube. With me co-hosting as usual is John, who is Trade You at Recess on IG. Hyung is away for this episode, but he should be back with us next week. All right, off the top, I wanted to talk about the release of this year's Bowman Draft. And I actually wanted Hyung to weigh in and to tell us which prospects and rookies to look out for, since he's much more knowledgeable about prospecting than we are. And the only thing I know is Jack Caglione. You might have heard his name. He's billed as the potential next legit two-way player. We'll see about that. But other than Jack Caglione, I don't know who else to be excited about if I pulled their card. So we'll save that for Hyung when he comes on next week. But I did want to talk about another chase in this year's Bowman Draft that everyone is already talking about. And his name is John Elway, the two-time Super Bowl champion quarterback. And just like Tom Brady in last year's Bowman Draft, he was also previously drafted by a Major League Baseball team, which to tell you the truth, I didn't know until recently. Before, of course, Elway also chose to become one of the more iconic NFL quarterbacks, right? So first, I want to ask you, John, have you seen the promo video for John Elway, who was daydreaming about being drafted by the Yankees? And if you didn't, it has Larry David of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He reprises his role as the late George Steinbrenner. I know you're probably familiar with Seinfeld, so that's
amazing. No, I haven't seen it, and that sounds amazing.
Yeah, you have to see it. And two, what do you think of the whole Elway autograph card as the chase? Kind of similar to what Bowman Draft did with Brady last year.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's really fun. Like some might say it's a little, getting a little bit too gimmicky and yada yada yada. I'm sure there are going to be some haters. But I like it. I like that they're kind of continuing it. John Elway's a great athlete, Hall of Famer. It kind of highlights an aspect of him that a lot of average Joes wouldn't know. Like the two of us didn't know that he got drafted. Like that's kind of cool. That really kind of shines a light on how awesome of an athlete. Like to get drafted, in multiple pro leagues. That is just something special, right? So
yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. Him getting involved in the promotion and marketing always makes it really fun. I don't know. I think it's a great job. I think it adds a little bit extra. Maybe it's not for the hardcore collectors, but it does add a little pizzazz in terms of chase for the product. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gimmicky. Yeah, but the only drawback is if and we could talk about this now, actually, because even within our chat group, I think our friend Will was asking if anyone's getting or ripping a box of hobby, and we're just saying it's just so expensive. So I wonder how much of that is because of the John Elway chase, or if it's just in general that Bowman Draft is going to be expensive because of who I mentioned off the top, Jack Caglione and other potential rookies and prospects that we don't even know of. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I wonder if that has any impact.
It is. I mean, I don't know. I think hobbyists are around, maybe not so much people that are into breaking, but just old school collectors. It's getting really expensive, and I don't know how much it costs, like retail. If retail has gone up, has it?
I'm assuming so, but
right.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the configuration too, right? Like what kind of hits you can get from retail. And that might.
Right. Oh, sorry. I meant the retail price, not.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gone up for sure. But
right.
But it's hard to say. Like going back to what I was saying, it's hard to say how much of this John Elway chase is contributing to that price. I don't think it is. I just generally think retail prices.
I don't think so
going
either.
Up, right?
Yeah. I think regardless, it would have been the prices.
Yes.
That it is. Yeah.
So if that's the case, and if we think that's true, then I have no problem with it. I think it's just an extra fun chase. It might not be for the hardcore baseball prospector, rookie prospector, but But yeah, it's kind of fun. And then, you know, before we started recording, I was kind of doing a bit of research. There's no autograph John Elway card that was sold yet as of this recording, but there was an orange refractor numbered to 25, a non-auto version that did sell yesterday, December 4th, for $800 raw.
Man.
So it sounds like a lot for a non-auto orange, even if it's an orange refractor of John Elway. And if you compare that to last year's Tom Brady's orange 2023 Bowman Draft non-auto, there's one that's graded a PSA 9. So let's say PSA 9 and raw are pretty comparable these days, right? That sold in September for almost $1,200. So, you know, I think the Elway card probably go down a bit more. You know, we always say you don't want to be the first guy to buy it, but I guess people either really like John Elway or just want to be first. I don't know.
Right.
But if you look at the autograph version of the Tom Brady orange refractor, a BGS 9.5 10 auto sold for just over $17,000 this year. So there might be more value in the autograph John Elway cards. We'll see.
For sure.
All right, and you know what? This is another thing we were kind of briefly talking about off air, but if they continue this trend, right, of having, you know, athletes that were drafted by another professional league, but then they went on to become a successful NFL player in this case. Here's a list. Well, you mentioned Russell Wilson got drafted by the Rockies, obviously played for the Seahawks and now for the Steelers. Other names: Kyler Murray, more modern. He was drafted by the Oakland A's.
No way.
Playing for the Cardinals now. So we'll see how his career ends up, but he could be a potential pick. More older, Michael Vick, drafted by the Rockies. Colin Kaepernick, that might be a controversial pick, but he was drafted by the Cubs. And this is a little different. Tim Tebow was drafted by the Mets, but after his NFL career. So that might be a twist on a future Bowman draft set. Any other names come to mind? I just did a quick ChatGPT search, and that's what it gave me.
Yeah, Tim Tebow doesn't he have a Bowman card?
Oh, actually, you might be right.
Yeah, because he did like have that little stint with was it the Mets?
Yes.
Yeah,
you might be right.
But yeah, those are.
I don't know.
If I can't, you know, there's some players that played both sports that are well known that probably can't be included. So like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, like those would be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know any others that I can think of offhand. It would be fun though if this, maybe it's getting too gimmicky, but if we started getting into like pop culture, like, you know, some celebrities that you didn't know played some legitimate level, maybe not drafted, but legitimate level of a sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like not many people know Steve Carell played a pretty high level of hockey. I think he got to like D3 college for like a hockey goalie.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think I might be for fun, but I think Elite Prospects, it's like almost like a baseball reference site.
Yeah.
Elite Prospects, I think, does have a Steve Carell
no way
profile. Yeah.
But
I think that's something maybe too gimmicky, but I would want to collect that card. Like that's pretty cool. Like I think Steve Carell's pretty well liked generally across the universe. So
no, I didn't know that. And that'll be, I mean, like think about the marketing behind that. That'll be hilarious. Right. That, you know, he becomes this like top tier NHL player. You know, you could reenact that whole thing out.
Yeah,
that'll be hilarious. Yeah, there you go. Tops, we gave you another idea for next year's Bowman draft. It won't even become about baseball anymore. It just becomes just so gimmicky.
Yeah.
People just chase for these these gimmicky cards, but anyway. Yeah, pretty cool. And we'll see. I'm really interested to see how much these John Elway autograph cards go for when they are pulled and listed on eBay. We'll see. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to hobby headlines. So we got to talk about it. Fanatics Fest NYC is in fact returning for a second year. We discussed it on a previous pod, two scenarios specifically, and one of them was the unsubstantiated rumor that it might be canceled, which obviously is not true. The other one was, we were exactly right, or what we heard was exactly right, which was that the 3-day event is taking place in June of 2025 rather than August, which was when the 2024 event took place. So maybe we can take a deeper dive into what's been announced already for 2025 and give our initial thoughts on them. All right. First, the fact that it's moving to June, which is notably before the National, do you think that'll have any impact on attendance for either Fanatics Fest NYC or the National? What do you think?
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean they're really close together as well.
Yep.
Uh, I think I don't know which would have more of an effect on the other,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel the general public of sports card collectors may choose the National, and the general public of sports enthusiasts or
Sure.
collectible enthusiasts will pick the Fanatics Fest.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of sports card collectors, they might cannibalize each other equally, right?
Mm.
Because, like for example, the two of us, or and including Hyung and some of our friends, if we were to do it, we'll probably pick one, right?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think at this point, you guys went to it last year, so maybe this year it's like, okay, it's the Nationals' turn. We gotta check out the National, right?
Yeah.
You only really have a lot of families with kids coming from from out of town. Like you can't make two multiple. Maybe you can, but to make two big trips within 30-40 days of each other, it was
Right.
pretty tough. So I think they'll kind of cannibalize each other in a way. I don't know which would be have more of effect on the other, but
Yeah.
I would say equal.
Yeah. No, I was just laughing in my head. It's hard to convince your significant other to back-to-back trips, and most of the time we're just spending on sports cards, and they're doing whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It's 100% not happening.
yeah,
Yeah,
that we can be sure of.
unless you trick them, right? Like, oh, let's have a great trip to New York. It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. And then like, oh, hang on, let's just make a detour to
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Oh, well, what's going on at the Javits Center? That's interesting. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's hard to say what's going to cannibalize the other, and I also agree with the point that there's going to be a crowd that just goes to the National. There's going to be a crowd that just goes to Fanatics Fest, right?
Sure.
So
Right.
that's fine. It's the crossover. Like, who would potentially have to choose, like us or others? I'm sure will be in the same boat. And how big is that crowd of people that have to choose, right?
Right.
So it'll be interesting because, I think after Hyung and I attended FanFest, thinking ahead at the time, we're like, oh, let's go to National. We have to check it out. But this kind of complicates things because now that it's in June, all the marketing is going to be happening early in the year. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, shoot, the collectible space is supposed to be even bigger than last year, right? And then
Right.
you're like, and one of the reasons why Michael Rubin said it's going to be in June rather than in August is that, well, 3 of the major sports are in off season, so that they could book more athletes to come to these events. And in fact, I think they're expecting 500 to attend for FanFest 2025 versus
Wow.
300 that came out this past year, which was, we thought was great. And there's these, like, Tom Brady's roaming the halls of Javits Center, and you can imagine if you're almost doubling the A-list athletes that are able to come, that would be a huge appeal, right? And
For
then
sure.
and then,
sure.
as we see more news of like what the actual collectible space is, then I don't know, it might change people's minds, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
well, question I had was, the now canceled Orlando show, right? That was supposed to be catered specifically for collectors. I wonder how much of that planning is going to be incorporated now into FanFest NYC 2025
Mm.
and what that's going to be like, what that's going to look like. So yeah, I don't know.
Did you feel going to FanFest last year that you had all the bonus on top of the sort of sports card space where you can buy, sell, et cetera, like the traditional sports card experience, all of the additional value adds? Was it worth it to in general to pick the FanFest over the National?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I've never been to a national, and we
Right.
have friends that have been to a national that say it's just not the same, right? So, but my personal experience, just having experienced FanFest, I thought I got the best of both worlds, to tell you the truth, right?
Right.
And maybe it's I'm biased because I made that Bourdain deal as well, so I got something out of it, in terms of the collecting side of things, and was able to trade and have that experience as well. Um, so maybe I might have felt differently if I came away with nothing. But at the same time, I was going to talk about this too. That Fanatics Fest. Remember, we got Topps Chrome exclusive FanFest NYC boxes that we were able to flip for double, and
Right.
that, I think, on a survey that FanFest gave out to just solicit feedback, I wrote that more of that would be nice, and I think they're seriously taking into consideration. So, yes, it's more expensive to go to New York. Hyung talked about it before about hotels being the price they are, but if they, for the savvy flipper, you can make probably at least half of it back just by going lining up for an hour or two to get the exclusive merch or exclusive product that is only available at FanFest. So that might
Right.
be a draw too, that the national really can't do as well. You know what I mean?
Mm. Is the national in Chicago or is it
Yes.
Cleveland this year? Chicago.
Yeah. Which is a
Okay.
plus for the
Thank
national
goodness.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No offense to Cleveland.
No offense to our Cleveland listeners. We love you guys, but yeah.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't know. If you had gone to FanFest, I'm curious for you because you haven't gone, but
Hmm.
one of the feedback is that, maybe more interactivity between the sports side of things, like just the regular sports versus the collecting side of things. More
Mm.
interactivity between those two sections might be beneficial. Would Do you think you would like that better, or do you think you like that they're separated in a way?
Yeah, I think I think having because I only know of the expo, right?
Yeah,
And I'm sure expo is somewhat similar to the national, just a little bit scaled down.
yeah,
Um, so I want that true sports card experience mingled in with everything else, like Tom Brady walking around and just lots of stuff out. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would make for a grander overall experience for sure, rather than it
mm-hmm.
feeling a bit separated. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the pro for that also is that I've heard others also articulate this, but it increased visibility to the hobby as well for like the regular sports fan
Sure.
that are just that's really just going to see the athletes, right? And then they're like, oh,
Right.
yeah. And I think that was one of the critiques, I guess, that a lot of these families and sports fans came out and then almost stumbled on the collecting side of things. They're like, oh, what is this? This is
Mm.
cards. What's going on here? So maybe if they're more intentional about intertwining those two sections, I think the hobby would benefit in general. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I talked about this already, but is there anything, like I don't know what they plan for the Orlando show, how they will make it more collector friendly, but do you think there's anything you'd like to see at an event like FanFest for the collector that that might even make you think twice about going to FanFest instead of the National? Like, is there anything specific you're like, oh shoot, I might really want to go to the FanFest this year?
I think immediately off the bat, location
Mm-hmm.
would beat out the national, right? Like that would be an immediate leg up because you can always, for those that have a really tough time kind of um, making a trip away from family,
Yeah.
if it was in Florida, if it was maybe in Vegas or whatever, where you can kind of kill multiple birds with one stone. Like if you're, I don't know, you're like really into hockey in Vegas nights and Leafs happen to be playing, you can do like Leafs game and go to Fanatics Fest at the same time or something like that.
Sure.
And then also go gambling and party it up, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
I think location definitely is huge, and whatever Fanatics continues to choose, and I'm sure they have the power and the pull to only have Fanatics Fest at big locations. So that's a huge leg up immediately.
Yeah.
And then things like the Topps Chrome exclusive boxes. Did you receive it for free, by the way?
No, you have to pay for it.
You have to pay. Okay.
But it's
But it's like
it's general retail prices. It's not marked up or anything.
at the place. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that kind of stuff is also super cool. Anything that kind of speaks. I mean, at this point, they should have a pretty good heartbeat of what collectors like and what
Right.
collectors want. Aside from just freebies, everyone loves freebies.
Sure.
No question. But if you kind of tune into that and give collectors what they like and want, and really amp that up, I don't have the ideas in my head right now, but um, that would also give a leg up versus the national, because the national is kind of old school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not no knock, people love it. The classic old school,
Yeah.
huge show, vendors. You go walking around, you see all these like cards you've never seen before. But if there's some way that Fanatics, with all their power and their marketing dollars, can really tune into the collectors, yeah, like that would be it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing in terms of the crossover. You could really use that to your advantage, right? Like last
Right.
year or this past year was Travis Scott fans. They were there because they love Travis Scott, but then he also came out with a specific top set. So people that like both Travis Scott and collecting, I kind of fall into that boat. It's almost
Right.
like a no brainer for me wanting to go to FanFest.
Right.
So who knows? Like if there are 500 A-list athletes coming to this event, think about the opportunities that Fanatics has to create exclusive merch, exclusive products, just at FanFest, and I think
Right.
that'll be interesting to watch to see if that sways people to come to
Right.
FanFest over the national. But
Yeah. I just thought of another one, and I think you kind of touched on this, how they're creating a larger showroom floor for sports cards.
yep,
I mean, if they get to a point where they can, I don't know, boast that it's the largest, and then also maybe give a really good discount or easy entry for vendors, so it's not so expensive.
yeah,
If they can somehow convince all the vendors that are at the national to also come, give them some sort of benefit to come showcase in Fanatics.
yeah,
I mean, if you pretty much have everybody that's in that national at Fanatics in terms of a collector,
yes,
like boom, there it is. You pretty much have the best of both worlds, right? So I think if they were to kind of hone in on the vendors,
yeah.
um, that can be huge for the collectors too.
That's an amazing idea. Yeah, I haven't even thought about that, but that was something that even our friend Carlos Sluggers 55 mentioned, how the booth was just seemed to be overpriced for what they got back in
Oh,
value,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So if they made it more cost friendly, I guess, or they
Mhm.
gave them more incentives, then to your point, yeah, seeing more vendors and becoming the biggest card show, even just that space that they're offering at Javits, that'll be a huge draw, I think, and
All right.
that would make me want to go to national or the FanFest again for sure over the national if that was the case. But
Right.
speak of the national, like the national is only a month after FanFest now in 2025. Do you think the national needs to announce something soon? Like generally speaking, they announce things in the spring. You know what I mean? They kind of take this usual year after year same kind of approach in terms of
Mhm.
timing and scheduling. Do you think they need to be a little more aggressive in what their show is going to be about, or you think national attendees will always be national attendees? They'll come no matter what.
Oh man, this is tough because I would say they would have to, for
Hmm.
sure. They would definitely, because now they're unfortunately competing with Fanatics Fest, so they would have to kind of up their marketing game. And I don't know if they have that
Right.
capability. That So on the one hand, and also if they did pump it up, at some point Fanatics is going to go even harder,
Yeah.
and it's just going to like continue to one up them. So they're kind of in a tough spot. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't sort of situation, right?
Yes.
But regardless, they do have to. They can't just sit back and do nothing and just hope that all the collectors will continue to just by default, historically, continue to go back.
Hmm.
At this point, I think Fanatics Fest is making too many moves for them to kind of sit idly by. So they'll have to at least do something,
Yeah.
make a pretty decent attempt.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Yeah, no knock on national. I really do want to go to national at least once for sure. But like they guys just, I feel like they have to improve from everything I've been hearing from people that do attend. They have to improve the experience overall, right? They just can't offer the same thing, year after year, thinking that, um, thinking that the attendance numbers will always be the same now that there's some kind of competition, real competition involved, right? That's the X factor now. And I'm thinking about like autographs. So one of the things that Fanatics did announce about FanFest 2025 was that they're also improving the whole autograph pavilion, right? So maybe making it more spacious, maybe making it easier. And as someone that went to the expo recently to get Joe Carter's autograph, that was a horrendous experience. Like it took so long, and then I had my kid with me, and that was like I had to let him play on my phone for an extra hour because he was so bored. I felt really bad for him.
It was an hour wait.
It was 2 hour wait at max. Yeah, so it depends where you are in line, right? But it's like, and then it was so crowded. Like the lineup became so long, right? And then you're in front of different people's booths. So I'm sure they weren't happy or pleased, right?
Sure.
and then it's like it's hot, and then the people in front of me and people behind me were complaining. It was just a mess. So I could envision that something like that at the national too. Like it's going to be crowded, and you just can't set up the same way. Maybe you want to improve how you set things up even, and then because at the end of the day, if anyone did go to FanFest and they found that experience to be superior than the national, if they've gone to a national before, and they could get the same kind of tangible benefit in terms of collecting and trading, then next year they probably, if they had to choose, they'll probably go to FanFest. You know what I mean? You just go to the place where the service is much better and the experience is much better, and especially if the only thing the national has going for them right now is the cost of admission. It's probably half of what FanFest is. But I don't know how much longer that can hold. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, I think the national needs to do something pretty soon in terms of marketing, but it'll be hard to compete against FanFest on the marketing side of things, but we'll see. All right. I'm sure we'll talk about it in 2025 as we get closer. We're like, okay, guys, what are we going to do? Are we going to FanFest or are we going to national? What's the plan? So we'll see as we get closer to the date. All right, let's move on to our next segment. It's over under. All right, so people that listen to the podcast knows how it goes. I'm going to give John 4 cards, and then I'm going to give him a dollar amount, and then he's going to say if the last or the recently sold price was over or under that number. All right, so I got 4 cards for you, John. First one, we always have to have this, a Shohei Ohtani card. Okay, so the 2018 Bowman Chrome rookie card, and it's the base rookie card. It's not the refractor, just a base 2018 Bowman Chrome, the batting position, right?
Yeah.
Non-auto, PSA 10. I'm giving you $1,000. Over or under that?
Oh, I think our buddy Andrew has this card, and I remember, I think he bought it for $50.
Wow.
Yeah, and it went really high at one point. It was like 1,500 or 1,700 or something.
Yep.
It blew up, and then it kind of came back down to earth. 1,000. It should be around there. I think you're. I feel it is sneaky. It's gonna be like 911. It's pretty close. So it's gonna be kind of a coin flip whether it's over. I'm gonna say under. I'm gonna say it's like 900 something or 875 or something like that.
Oh man, John, you're getting good at this game. You know how I think. It's under for $900.
There you go. Nice.
Oh man, see, we've done it enough times that you guys are catching on now. That's a good one. All right. Okay, this is a little trick here. LeBron James, 2008-09 Topps Chrome Refractor. The chalk toss, the horizontal card. Of LeBron James, right? PSA 10. Okay. 1900.
Whoa. So this one, I don't know the pricing well, but I do know it's decent, but probably never over the Kobe card of the same year. And the Kobe card goes for, I don't know, 25, 3,000, probably settled around 3,000. 1,900 sounds about right for that card. Oh, I'm scared. I know your style now. It's going to be like 2,100, 1,900. So I got to kind of choose. Man, LeBron's taking a big hit though in terms of pricing. I feel like this could be another under. I could feel like this could be like a $1,500 card. So I'm gonna say under.
Okay, I like your thinking because it sold for 1,500 in April, May, June of this year. So that was the low, but it's gone up to 2,005 now. Yeah, $2,005.
2,000. Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
So it's over. But I chose that number because it did dip to under 1,500 actually in June. And then at the peak, it was over $10,000. Just to give you context.
Oh my goodness!
I'm glad I didn't buy. I was always looking at this card too because it's kind of cool. But yeah, 1,500 is a good price for it. I think if it comes back down.
Yeah.
Okay, card number 3. It is the Alexander Ovechkin SP Authentic Future Watch Auto, number 999, 2005, of course. A BGS 9.5. Okay. 10 auto. $8,000. Over under.
Whoa. I do pay attention to Sidney Crosby Future Watch. I don't really pay attention to Ovies. 8,000 BGS. Min Gem. Do you know?
I believe it is, but I can check.
Not
for
that
you.
I would really. I don't know if that would really help me.
8,000. Yes, it was a Min Gem. Edges were 9.
Is Ovi's? I mean, Ovi's off to a hot. He's playing pretty good. Yeah, I think at this point it's a lock. He's gonna take Gretzky's. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna take Gretzky's record. I don't. But that's like close to double Crosby. That's a lot. I think it should. I think it should be under, but I'm scared it's not. But real pricing, I think it should be under. 8,000's a lot for a BGS.
It's a lot, but it sold December 1st for 8,400.
Oh yeah, I was scared.
Yeah, it's getting up there now. I think people are anticipating already that he's injured now, right? But I think people are anticipating that he's going to break the record either this season or next season. Yeah,
he was on a pretty good goal pace before.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's crazy. 8,400. Oh, every time I see this card,
regrets.
I'm like, oh, I missed out winning for $700. I bid 600. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
yeah. And this was the card, right? It was BGS 95.
Yes, this was the card. It's the exact same grade.
Damn.
Damn is right. Okay. Last card in this segment. We got to go with the 1986 Fleer basketball Michael Jordan rookie card. PSA 9. Okay.
PSA 9. Okay.
19,000.
19,000.
And we talked about the BGS 9 version of it last week during the blind ranking segment, which was around 10,000, just to give you a comparison. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't listen to last. Was I on last? I don't think I was on last week.
No, it was for the blind rankings. You did that game.
Oh, was I there? Okay. Yeah. 19,000. I remember a while ago talking about PSA 9, but this is a while ago, and I remember it would be 17, 18, 19. Like it was kind of around that.
Yeah.
And it's at 19 now. Jordan. I don't know how well Fleer's been doing. Like obviously the 90s insert market has been just popping off, but the Fleer, I would think it is just kind of stable, if not doing excellent. So 19 sounds a bit expensive. I want to say it's probably worth like 17, 16, 18. I don't know. I'm going to say under. It sounds like this is an under.
Sold on December 1st. You're going with under for $20,400.
That was not a good segment for me.
You started off so strong. I was confident in you, you know? You're like, you figured it out.
I
but
got too cocky. I got too cocky. I overthink. Thought
yeah,
I was getting
that's.
too cocky.
But no, those were hard ones because I was picking numbers close to the actual amount, you know.
Right.
But no, that was, and you're right though. It's 20,400, but it was 18,000 a couple months ago or in August. So it's
Mm,
fluctuating around 19K on average.
right.
Yeah, but it seems to be going sideways at that point. Yeah, interesting. All right, that's this our over under segment, and we'll finish off this episode with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And this is when both of us we choose two cards, and then we debate which one we would rather invest in. So Hyung's not here; he usually starts things off. So John, do you want to start things off this week?
Yeah, let's do it. Um, I'm gonna go classic 1v1 baseball, rather unspectacular for what I usually pick as 1v1s.
All
But I
right.
mean, it's baseball off season I mean, we have a good contingent of baseball listeners,
Yep.
and it's off season. This is the time to kind of go after cards that you need to go after. We're kind of getting into that space, so
True.
we're gonna go Juan Soto versus Julio Rodriguez.
Hmm. Okay.
So Juan Soto, he's kind of moving into the lull stage where like there's not as much volatility anymore. But I would say for who he is, his car prices are pretty low. It's sort of like Mookie Betts territory. And then you got Julio Rodriguez. His prices are also low, but you got the volatility there. So it's sort of a classic 1v1.
This is easy for me because they're both on my watch list. I kind of want them both, so I'm kind of
Right.
really I've been monitoring both their prices in general. And for me, it's easy because the value I think is still in Julio Rodriguez. So I'm
Mm,
doing the value play. There is volatility, and we talk about Topps Dynasty as a underrated set, and his Topps Dynasty cards are J Rod has a great year. That can double in value easily, I think, right? So,
right.
and his Bowman Chrome's still a little inflated because his first Bowman Chrome's will always be the most desired, right? But I like J Rod's price for where it is now and what he's capable of. And if I don't know if you were on the episode when I asked Hyung about J Rod he was pretty much saying the same thing, that he was just saying J Rod actually didn't really even have a bad season last year. He just started really slow, and the perception of him having a down season was because the first 2 months were just horrible. And then he pulled a Juan Soto. You know what I mean? He just started to really play well during the summer and into the fall. So
Mhm.
I think J Rod's still the play. And the thing with Juan Soto, I mean, we're talking about Juan Soto all the time in Toronto because we're going through this again. With Shohei last year. Now we're going through
Oh
with Juan
God.
Soto.
Yeah, I'm
I,
not falling for it. There's 0% chance he can with Toronto.
You know what? You need to keep telling me that because I'm watching like YouTube videos, local YouTube Toronto videos where I'm like, oh my goodness, we got a chance, we got a
Don't do
chance.
that to yourself, man.
And our friend Will, he's joking. He says he's ready to be hurt again. So we're kind of, getting our hopes up a little bit. But anyway, because of that reason, his cards are kind of like inflated still. You know what I mean? Like he's in the news still, even in the off season, right?
Right,
So when he does sign that, I believe he's going to sign a $700 million contract. To tell you the truth,
right.
I think that's gonna. You got to wait for that news to simmer down to get maybe a better deal, even.
Mm.
So yeah, J Rod for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, going back to just quickly to the Jays, you know what? I'll take that back. The Jays do have a chance technically, but the offer has to be ridiculous, right? Like that's it. Like if
Yeah,
our offer is 650 and the Yankees offer is 590, like he's picking the Yankees. There's no question, right?
yeah.
Our offer, unfortunately, it has to be just
It
something
has to be 750 essentially.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah, like 750, 800, just something, an offer he can't refuse at that point. Like
yes.
that's the way the Jays get him, unfortunately. And many fans, hardcore fans, be like, you can't spend that kind of money. Whatever. It's
It's
not my
Rogers.
money.
Yeah, it's Rogers' money.
Yeah,
Come on.
they got boatloads. Just give him the damn money and let's get Juan Soto. But
Yes.
anyways, aside from that, yeah, I man, this is hard. This is tough. This is like because Julio, I his price is so low. Um, and he's got that potential. And I kind of like how Hyung one time kind of highlighted fourth year breakout and all of that stuff, rebounds.
Right.
It's sort of in the stats. So I think I think I'm going to give a slight edge to Julio as well, because I'm in that state of collecting where I wouldn't mind putting some money in to get it back so that I can put it into something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
sort of in the trade up scenario. So it would make the most sense for me to take that risk. But I mean, on the other hand, to the 49%, almost choosing Juan Soto, it's long term. I think he's got such great value.
For sure.
But I think one thing I will say for the both guys right now, what I have been noticing, and maybe it was just something I noticed and it's not really a true fact, but I own the Juan Soto update refractor out of 250.
Yeah.
And that card has gone down significantly.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, I think the PSA 10 last sold for like 1600 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And even when Juan Soto cards were starting to rebound, that card was still going down. And it's a rare card. It's not
Yeah.
readily attainable, but it was still going down. And for me, I think it's kind of showing where the market is starting to shift fully away from flagship images and sort of like normal refractors and gold refractors and stuff like that to completely back to autographs.
Interesting.
Like at this point, a Topps Chrome 2024 Yankees uni Juan Soto auto might have a better
Right.
upside than the flagship update refractor. As crazy as that sounds,
Yeah.
I feel like, even if you look at Julio Rodriguez SP horizontal image, like that card is, what is it at now? I think I was checking, it was at like $150 or $125.
Yeah.
Like I think flagship is sort of, for us, we love it. That's the way you kind of collect it before. But I don't know, for any collector out there, whether you choose Rodriguez or whether you choose Juan Soto or whatever, Mike Trout, I think at this point you got to go with cards that have autos.
Love to hear it. I was always an auto guy and never understood the non-auto play, but the world is becoming more sensical now to me.
Yeah.
Took
Regular logic and not hobby logic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a good one though. I didn't know about the your Juan Soto card. That's really surprising to me for some reason.
Yeah, my trade value continues to decrease.
Got to trade quickly. All right, good one. Okay, I got one that I think I know what you're gonna choose, but I kind of want to point out the obvious, or point out something that's interesting to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about the 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan, right? So the PSA 8.5 sold for about $10,000. Okay, so we know the PSA 9 sold for 20,000, right? PSA 8.5 sold for 10,000. Okay, would you take that Michael Jordan Fleer rookie card, or would you take a Piggy Banks Batmobile Batman Superfractor card 1 of 1?
That's insane. You're highlighting Piggy Banks.
Yeah, and Piggy Banks has been blowing up, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I pointed that. Yeah, I remember seeing it and I pointed it out to you guys.
The Mandalorian one that sold for, if it's a legit sale, for our 6 figures, essentially 100,000.
Right. Oh my gosh.
We
had him.
Yeah,
we had him on a show way back in the day, right?
I was going to shout out our podcast. We've had Piggy Banks in season 2, I think, before he started really blowing up. But yeah.
Yeah. And back then, I mean, his retail price was, and I wanted some cards. I just couldn't justify at the time. I was a big fan.
I think $200-300.
Yeah. $200-300.
Yeah.
To me, I really loved it and I wanted it, but I just at the time couldn't justify spending that kind of money on sort of like a custom card, what was known as a custom card.
Yeah.
But man, it's just insane to see how much this is. I mean, number one, good for him.
Yeah. Kudos.
In terms of a collector, I'm a little worried that this is kind of getting into that sort of, what was it again? Topps 50/50. What was the
the
Project 50.
Something
yeah. Where it like people just like jumping on thinking it's like the next greatest and it just kind of like
fizzled.
You get the middle finger graph and it just kind of
right.
blows up on the high end and blows up on the low end. I'm a little worried in terms of like, I don't think if I was recommending, so I personally would not, and this is not a knock against piggy banks, but it's just not. I don't know. I don't know enough of this piggy banks phenomenon to know whether this is legit or not. So give me 100%. Give me the Jordan.
Yeah. I'm just highlighting how crazy it's become in terms of piggy banks custom card values, and like you said, kudos to piggy banks. I love it, right? And if there's something to be said about piggy banks, I think he's probably one of the more OG guys now, and he hasn't even been around that long in relatively speaking the hobby, but like in terms of someone that's been doing it consistently now and definitely has a style, I think if you're going to invest in a custom card, piggy banks is probably one of the more safer bets, because there are other custom card makers, but piggy banks seems to be the one that's kind of floated to the top for now, right? And
he's clearly he's made it, man. In terms of custom cards, there's nobody that has that value. Like this is like he's become Banksy of like the sports card.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, it looks high quality too, right? That's the knock on the project. I think it's 70. I can't remember what the number was, but it was. And I have 5 of those. They're all worthless now, right? But I thought it was cool when I got them because it's like, oh, this is kind of cool artwork. But when you get it, the slab that it's encased in is much cooler than the card itself now. Like it was like a piece of, it's like putting my son's art on a plain white piece of paper in a nice slab. It's like, it's only worth so much when you do that kind of card with that kind of quality. But with you look at piggy banks card, it's nicely encased.
He opts his presentation
for sure every time. No, exactly. So but that being said, like it's so, if you're a gambler, if you're a risk taker, then this can keep going up, right? Especially the one of ones that he does, like this one that I showed you for pick one. But I'm with you. I'm not that much of a big risk taker, so give me the 8.5 Michael Jordan Flair. All right. Another great episode of Cards to the Moon. We appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this episode, we really like and appreciate if you give us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. And we'll have a brand new episode for you next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.